Still quite a few Blu-rays to get through. I'm wondering which ones we should do next. What genre do you think I should focus on right now? I mean, I got a lot from a lot of different genres. I mean, I got horror, obviously, and I got sci-fi, and I got some, thrillers, and some cartoons, both for kids and not so much for kids. Maybe cartoons? Sci-fi? Oh. I guess we're doing some more horror today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Okay, just before we get into the next phase of the update/reviews, we got a couple things to do first. Not the least of which is, we're live on Stickam again. So I got my little shout-out list here. Okay, from the top, here's who's in the room right now on Stickam watching me film this. In alphabetical order. Epic Conspiracy. J-Star 305, also known as Javi 305786. Mafia Man 5437, long time viewer of YouTube cred. Nightclaw, Old Smoky, Pablo 123, Patrick Butler 1981, Skin Slick, STAB Man, Tom Green 99, Wrestling Grunt, and you know that guy, also known as Chapeldotco. So yeah, if you ever want to participate in one of our Stickam chat rooms and perhaps be present when I film a video, I don't know why people find that so exciting, but apparently they do. That's why we're doing it more often now. Yeah, if you'd like to participate in the chat room, this is where to go. Just in case the link that appears at the end of every single one of my videos wasn't obvious enough, there it is again. Okay, so of course last time we spent no less than 20 minutes or so talking about the Final Destination movies, and I realized that despite all my rambling, I actually forgot something. Specifically with regards to some things I've seen on some chat forums and whatnot about the movies. I keep seeing people say, why does death have to go to so much trouble to kill people? I mean, why does death have to concoct these big elaborate Rube Goldberg-esque contraptions and scenarios in order to kill them? Well, why doesn't he just give them all heart attacks? It's like, well, because that would be a really boring movie. Actually, it would be kind of funny. Just one person after another, thud, 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 the end. Yeah, no. But I mean, okay, let's think about this for a second. Death is this force of nature that has existed since the beginning of time, and one assumes has a direct hand in the death of everyone and everything on the face of the planet since the beginning of time. Now, any one of us who's ever worked any kind of minimum wage 9-to-5 job where we're basically doing the same old thing day in and day out knows how boring that can be. So imagine the most mundane job you've ever had, and think of doing that for eternity. Don't you think after a while you'd want to mix things up a little bit? Yeah, I don't think it's too far of a stretch to think that maybe death is just bored and goes to all these elaborate lengths to off people in interesting, creative, and oft-times hilarious ways just to mix things up a little bit. Plus the aforementioned reason that it would be a boring or unintentionally hilarious and incredibly short movie otherwise. Okay, so moving right along, now that we've finally said all that I think we can say about the Final Destination movies, what are some of the other franchises I decided to get caught up on? Well, I figure I gotta talk about this one because it seems everybody and their dog is talking about it right now because the new one just came out. What am I referring to? Well, what else could it be except the Scream Trilogy. That's right, I had never seen any of the Scream movies. So the local HMV had these puppies on sale for 2 for $20. for the Blu-ray editions. And yeah, how could I pass that up? That was a great deal. So I got the whole trilogy for 30 bucks. There is a set out of the trilogy, but I noticed the set really doesn't have anything that isn't in the individual discs, and it cost about twice as much. So why would I pay twice as much for the exact same content just to have a pretty box to put them all in? Yeah. So anyway, I had heard a lot of good things about this, and you may recall in the previous video how I mentioned that my mom isn't particularly into horror movies. Well, most specifically, she's not really into slasher movies. She doesn't like the kind of horror movies where the killer is a human preying on other humans, yet for some reason she's a huge murder mystery fan. But not if it's a horror movie. Oh no, that's right out. My mom actually saw these 3 movies a while back and absolutely loved them. In fact, you may remember an update many moons ago where she actually sent me the Scream trilogy on one of those, you know, all-in-one keep case, like El Cheapo editions. The only reason I didn't watch it then was because I found out that all 3 Scream movies are actually in CinemaScope aspect ratio, and that trilogy set was actually full screen. In which case, it means I would have been missing about half the picture. And being the freak for original aspect ratio that I am, I just could not bring myself to watch them knowing that I was going to be losing a full half of the picture. So I waited and waited and waited and finally got them on Blu-ray. Okay, so very quickly, what did I think of them? Well, honestly, I think the whole series is an absolute blast. I had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoyed the humor. I really enjoyed the fact that it is a proper continuing story where, you know, the characters continue from one to the next and they all have their own story arcs. And they're very well developed, interesting, likable characters. I really like Neve Campbell, who, you know, is a Canadian actress, and I've seen her in a lot of stuff. I noticed that the first Scream came out in, what was it, 1996? 96, yeah, which was like a year or two after she did The Craft, which was a movie I really enjoyed. And I noticed Skeet Ulrich was also in that, or Ulrich, I guess, however how you pronounce his name. You know that, you know who I mean. He plays the boyfriend in this one, in the first Scream. And just lots of glare. There we go, that's better. So it was kind of fun to see them both together in the same movie again. I guess they were kind of like the big teen stars at the time, so they were getting a lot of screen time. But no, the other thing I liked about it was that they would often have big name stars appear in the films, but only for like a scene, and then they get killed. So it's like, so it was a lot of fun. You know, it's almost like it's a series that makes fun of itself as much as it's making fun of the genre that it's a part of. So of course you have the whole thing about the rules of horror movies, like you don't go alone, you don't say I'll be back, and you know, don't hide in the closet, and you know, all these different rules for what to do if you find yourself in a horror movie. And essentially throughout all 3 of these, the killer is following the typical pattern of a horror movie. The first one, he's following the pattern of a slasher. The second one, he's following the pattern of a sequel to a slasher. The third one, he's following the pattern of the conclusion to a trilogy. So it's great fun when they sort of try to lay out all the rules, and it's all the typical horror movie cliches that we all know, but at the same time, the characters are finding themselves in these cliche situations and trying to deal with them. And they do often pick solutions to get out of those situations that are not always your typical movie solutions. So overall, I mean, I'm just kind of talking about them as a whole because I kind of consider the whole thing to be one massive story. A lot of people, you know, don't care for some of the sequels and whatnot, but I watched all 3 of these back to back, essentially, and I saw it all as one big story, and I thought it held together really well. I'll tell you what it actually reminds me of is the Italian giallo horror genre, or it's technically a mystery genre, but we refer to it as a horror genre over here because it's a mystery genre that's very gory and very brutally violent. Now, the format of a giallo film is pretty straightforward. Essentially, it's a murder mystery, but the murders, as depicted in the film, are extremely brutal, graphic, and gory. So that's why they tend to be lumped in with the horror films here. Dario Argento, for example, is primarily a giallo director. People label him as a horror director, but he actually does giallo films, mostly. The term giallo comes from the old pulp fiction murder mystery novels, which is what these types of movies are based on, or inspired by, and they tended to have yellow covers a lot of the time. So the genre just became known as giallo, which is Italian for yellow. And then the other big thing about a giallo film is it always has a twist ending of some kind. It's a whodunit, but when you actually find out who done it, you're like, oh my god, it's just some mind-blowing twist that you didn't even see coming. I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb here and say the Scream trilogy is an American giallo film. Now, having said that, giallo films are not played for laughs. They tend to be very serious. There may be some characters in there for comic relief or humorous, effect or whatever, but for the most part, they're very deadly serious films. The Scream films are not. They really are not deadly serious films at all. They don't take themselves too seriously. They're making fun of the genre that they're a part of, and it's just great fun all around. But at the same time, they follow almost exactly the pattern of a giallo. The murder scenes are very brutal, violent, and gory, and every single one of them has a twist ending that you do not see coming. So that just screams giallo to me. And I think that was what my mom liked about them as well, was the fact that these have a lot of humor in them that kind of take the edge off the horror. So they really are not your typical slasher films. I think they really transcend the genre in a lot of ways, and it's a very unique and highly entertaining series. And keep a sharp eye out for all the star cameos, because as the series became more popular through the sequels, there were more and more cameos. The third one is just freaking loaded with them. I mean, for God's sake, you even see Jay and Silent Bob in there, okay? That's just how huge this thing had become by that point. So yeah, and I've heard that the fourth one's really good. I've not seen the fourth one. It's probably not going to be until it comes out on Blu-ray. So yeah. So anyway, in terms of picture and sound quality, something I completely lacked to mention on the Final Destination ones, and I apologize for that. I did mention it in the comments of the Final Destination video, so read through the comments if you want to see what I thought about the picture and sound. Okay, so let's see what we got for features and picture and sound on all these. Basically, all three of these, I saw no problems with the transfer. They look pretty crisp and clean to me. Deep blacks, bright colors. Sound was loud and clear. Mind you, I'm only listening with headphones, but whatever. Okay, so the first Scream. What do we got? Special features. We have an audio commentary by director Wes Craven and writer Kevin Williamson. Production featurette, behind-the-scenes Q&A with cast and crew, trailers, and TV spots. Second one, we have audio commentary by director Wes Craven, producer Marianne Magdalena, and editor Patrick Lussier. Deleted scenes, outtakes, featurette, music videos, theatrical trailer, and TV spots. Third one, we have audio commentary by director Wes Craven, producer Marianne Magdalena, and editor Patrick Lussier. Deleted scenes, alternate editing, outtakes, behind-the-scenes montage, music video, what if, theatrical trailer, international trailer, and TV spots. In terms of video and audio, we have... it doesn't say anything about the video codec. Basically, it's 24 frames per second, 1080p, high definition, 16:9, 2.35 to 1 aspect ratio. That's CinemaScope, so even on a 16:9 screen, you'll have little black bars on the top and bottom. That is normal. Audio is DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 on all three of them. So, pretty slick little packages. Not bad for $10 a piece, I gotta say. So, yeah, in short, I know this has been kind of all over the place. I'm just kind of scatterbrained today, but... I thoroughly enjoyed all three of them, and much like the Final Destination movies, I will watch the entire franchise over again. I think the Scream movies hold together much better through the sequels, even though it does kind of get more convoluted as it goes. But, that's okay. I mean, it's just part of the fun, really. But it definitely has one of the better ongoing storylines that I've seen in any franchise, really, like any horror franchise. So, yeah, Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson, big kudos to them. They did a bang-up job with the Scream series, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking out the fourth one. And if you haven't checked them out, and you're looking for a great horror series with, some really good actors in it. I mean, these really have outstanding casts in them. You'll recognize just about everybody. And an actual decent story with some great humor and poking a lot of fun at the genre. Check out Scream. I highly recommend them. Alrighty. That's it for me to you for now. So next time we'll probably wrap up the horror because I don't feel like taking this whole display down behind me. And so we'll see you then. So until then, thanks for watching and sayonara.